Good morning and welcome back to another Facebook Live with the Environmental Learning Centers of Connecticut. My name is Lauren Pryor and today we're going to be talking about some survival tactics that one species in particular uses to survive winter, and that is the wood frog. So a lot of wildlife in winter, they've got obviously some challenges to deal with. Today is a prime example of that. Here in Bristol we've got some freezing rain. There's a nice layer of ice all over the trees and the road, of course. So animals have to deal with this challenge. Colder temperatures, maybe not enough resources for food, making sure their shelter is warm enough. So we hear a lot of the times three big words. We hear the word migrate, we hear the word hibernation, and then we hear kind of this tough it out phrase. So we have animals in Connecticut that do all three of those things. Loads of birds migrate, hawks, a lot of ducks, songbirds migrate down south to get to the warmer temperatures. Hibernators, of course, we have bats, bats that will hibernate in caves. We also have some tree roosting bats, but they might seek a little bit more of a confined shelter for hibernating. Groundhog's Day was earlier in the month, so groundhogs hibernate. And then of course we always hear bears, whether they're true hibernators or not, they hunker down for the winter. But then we have a variety of animals that tough it out. Like here on the preserve we have bobcats, coyotes, we have owls, all of these animals that are just dealing with the drop in temperatures and dealing with maybe some food diet changes that they're going to have to adjust for. But one animal, or really two categories of animals that we don't really hear about a lot in the wintertime are reptiles and amphibians. And we don't really hear about them a lot in the wintertime because we don't see them in the wintertime. Because they're kind of doing this thing, kind of like hibernation, except we call it brumation. So brumation is what reptiles and amphibians do in the wintertime, and it's this period like hibernation, but it's a period of inactivity, some sluggishness behavior that reptiles and amphibians do because of the drop in temperatures. Now reptiles and amphibians, we would say, are cold-blooded. The scientific word for that would be ectotherms. So being ectothermic, they're cold-blooded, they rely on the environment to regulate their body temperature. So reptiles and amphibians, so reptiles, your snakes and turtles. Here in Connecticut we have one lizard species. Amphibians, we've got our frogs, toads, salamanders. So these guys, they have to move in their environment. They have to move to a sunnier spot to warm up, and they have to move to a shady spot to cool down because they can't sweat and they can't shiver. So they have to use the environment to warm up and cool down. So in the wintertime, when the temperatures drop, reptiles and amphibians brumate to compensate for that, so they go into a period of inactivity. And one species that does this in Connecticut is the wood frog. So this wood frog is not brumating right now because this wood frog lives inside. Okay, this wood frog is a resident of the Barnes Nature Center. So being inside, living inside its enclosure inside, this animal does not experience the change in temperatures, so they do not become inactive. But the wood frog is just one of 11 species of frogs and toads we have here in Connecticut. So the wood frog is a frog you can find outside. They come out early spring. They're one of our early spring amphibians. So we'll talk a little bit about the natural history of this animal before getting into a very cool, unique adaptation that this animal has in order to survive winter while it is brumating. So the wood frog, like I said, it's one of 11 species of frogs and toads in Connecticut. Being an amphibian, they do have a backbone going from their base of the skull towards down their back towards where their tail used to be. Skin covers the body of this amphibian. Amphibians have skin. Their skin is what we call permeable, so it's easy to let oxygen and other items transfer through their skin. That's why we don't really handle amphibians with our bare hands, because we have a lot of oils and dirt and germs, and when we handle our amphibians with not sterilized hands, we can transfer all of that into their body. And then, of course, being an amphibian, this animal started its life cycle in the water. So this little wood frog did start as a little tiny egg laid in the water, hatched out in the water, whether it be a pond or a small, slow-moving stream, hatched out, found its food sources, probably small bits of plant matter at first, and then moving up to maybe other tadpoles, and then small insects as it grows its legs and absorbs that tail, getting ready to move on land. So one key feature about an adult wood frog, you'll notice right where its eye is, we have a dark band of brown. So it's kind of like a mask. Some people have akin it to a robber's mask. So it has a brown mask going across its eye. Otherwise, it's kind of this light tan color. The belly is a lot lighter, more white. But it's got this nice coloration because it's hanging around in moist forests on the ground. So when you're the color of the ground, that allows you to camouflage. You're blending in to avoid your predators, but also to sneak up on your prey. So some predators of the wood frog include bigger frogs. Okay, this is a small frog, a little more than half the length of my thumb. Predators would include birds, some snakes, but then of course we have prey items such as insects, some small spiders, maybe some worms, using that sticky tongue to grab their prey and then swallow it whole. So in the wintertime, this frog is hunkering down. They are brumating. They are going inactive. Okay, most of the time they're going inactive because the reptiles and amphibians, since they rely on the temperature, the environmental temperature to regulate their body, they can't eat when it's too cold because then they're not going to have that boost in their metabolism to digest their food. So going inactive allows them to not have to eat. What is this animal eating? Remember, we said insects, some spiders and worms. Those resources aren't around in the winter time. So if your resources for food aren't around, you want to have the ability to stop eating. So this little wood frog is going to be brumating, hunkering down under leaves, rocks, and logs on the forest floor. And they don't really have to bury themselves very low underground. Some animals might be going deep underground. Wood frogs don't really have to worry about that. Because wood frogs do something cool. Inside their body, they kind of make their own natural antifreeze. So when we get a drop in temperatures, there's kind of a chain reaction that goes along in their body that tells their liver to start producing a lot more sugar, glucose. So glucose is getting pumped out from this frog's liver into the body, going into the cells of this animal. And that allows it so the cells cannot freeze. When there's a high concentration of sugar inside the cells cannot freeze. If the sugar was not there, if there was mostly just water in those cells, they would freeze, and then the ice would be jaggedy, and the ice would pierce the cell membrane, killing the cell. So these little frogs can essentially make their own antifreeze. The organs around the cells, so the areas around the cells might freeze, but the cells themselves will not. So they can become very frozen-like. And then come early spring, these are one of the first frogs that are going to start to come out. As soon as those temperatures start to change, they're going to start to thaw themselves out from the inside out and become active again. A lot of other frogs, toads, reptiles, so our turtles and snakes, they'll go down deeper into their shelter below the freeze line. So they have a chance of staying a little bit warmer. On the side view of this wood frog, we get a very clean look of the legs. So we see some short, stubby legs in front and those folded up long legs in the back. We see some spotting on the frog as well. So these frogs, some differences between frogs and toads. Frogs will have those long legs for really launching themselves and those front stubby legs for landing, where toads will kind of be squat all the way around and make these little hops. Another difference, if you're outside and you see an amphibian like this and you're wondering if it's a frog or toad, a lot of frogs will have smoother, more moist skin, where the toads will have drier, bumpier skin. As frogs can go on land, but really prefer the water, at least here in Connecticut, where toads are the opposite. They can go in the water, but really prefer land. But both frogs and toads have that life cycle. Like I said, this is one of our early spring animals that are going to start to come out. So give it a month and a half as we get into March and temperatures start to warm up. When you go to the Barnes Nature Center, which is open 7 days a week. So the Barnes Nature Center building itself is closed, but the trails are open 7 days a week still, sunrise to sunset. You can enjoy a nice winter walk by yourself or with your family and friends, as long as you social distance on the trails. But come spring, this is going to be one of the first animals that are going to start to come out. They make a nice little sound, kind of like a duck's quack. They are active during the day, so you don't have to stay up into the middle of the night to hear them. But we've got a nice little pond back behind the Nature Center building that you can kind of camp out and wait and look and listen for these little frogs. The eyes we can see are another huge feature on this frog. So frogs are unique in that they don't really have necks. So this frog can't turn its head to the side, like if we turn our heads to the side. This frog can't do that. So one, they need to use their eyes to locate their food in their surroundings, and then they totally spin their body. They move their whole body to get towards their prey. But they also use their eyes to help smush down their prey when they're eating. Their eyes help them to swallow. So we've got this very large mouth that opens just kind of wide, just like this, kind of accommodating large prey that's going to be swallowed whole. Frogs do have very tiny teeth, but there's not much chewing that's going on. So those eyes are going to push down on the prey item back down towards their throat to help them swallow it. So as a quick recap, this is just one of our native species that is here in Connecticut. We've got 11 frogs and toads. This is just one of them, the wood frog. We can identify the wood frog based off of its brown mask that goes across both eyes. So we will see it on the other side too. If our frog cooperates, there we go, the other side. They're small, brown in color, white belly. And this frog does kind of a combination of hibernation, but since it's a reptile, we call it brumating. Or excuse me, an amphibian, we call it brumating. Reptiles and amphibians brumate. And the wood frog is unique. It can live above the Arctic Circle because of its unique ability to create kind of a natural antifreeze. So when the temperatures drop, there's a chain reaction in the body that senses that temperature change. The liver starts pumping out sugars into the body. Cells pick it up. And that high concentration of sugar inside the cells allow the cells to not freeze. Otherwise, the water inside the cells would freeze, create ice, puncture the cell membrane, cause cell death, which would lead to the death of the animal. But because we have this natural antifreeze, that doesn't happen with the wood frog, and they are able to freeze themselves in the winter time and then thaw out in early spring. And the coolest thing is that this is an animal that lives here in Connecticut, so you can find them in your own backyard, at your local park, your local forest. As long as it's moist and it has a water source, you will find frogs. Frogs are also a really good key indicator species, kind of relaying information on how healthy the environment is because of that permeable skin that they have. So where you find frogs, you're going to find a boatload of other animals. As if you find frogs, then it's a pretty healthy environment. So that is our Facebook Live for today. Thanks for joining me and our wood frog with the Environmental Learning Centers of Connecticut. Make sure to follow our page to keep up to date on all of our upcoming programs. We're going to be back on Thursday at 10 a.m. on our Facebook Live to cover another environmental topic. If you have a specific topic that you're interested in, make sure to comment below and we'll be sure to cover it for you. But thanks for joining us today, and we will see you on Thursday.